How many of you have heard Larkin Rose before? Yes. Many of you heard him yesterday. And now he's going to talk about the nature of the beast. And he's going to talk about what government is like and how you can stand up to it and how you can live your life getting around government. Join me in welcoming Larkin Rose.
There are monsters in this world. And those people who are not aware of the monsters in this world and don't know how to recognize them and don't know how to identify them are at a distinct disadvantage and are vulnerable. I'm not talking about vampires and werewolves, but I am talking about people who look like us and can act like us for the most part, but do not think like most of us. They do not function like most of us. Specifically, I'm talking about sociopaths and psychopaths, but even more specifically, today I'm going to talk about a classification known as toxic narcissists. Now, I used to think narcissist just sort of meant somebody who thinks too highly of himself and is a jerk and doesn't really care about anybody else. In the general sense, that's what it means. But Amanda and I got an accidental education in the very specific diagnosis of toxic narcissism and malignant narcissism in the last couple of years. Now, you may think, who cares? We don't care about your personal life. Absolutely, and you shouldn't. However, there is a reason this directly relates. You see, as we were getting our accidental education in the topic, it was impossible to miss all of the very precise parallels between this mental disorder, if you want to call it that, and the state. And I don't just mean the people in the state. I think most of us are already familiar with the fact that political power, or any power, attracts narcissists and sociopaths and psychopaths. But I also mean that the state as a whole, as an institution, functions down to the detail the way toxic narcissist functions. And the reason that's worth knowing is because the same methods that defeat and disempower individuals who are toxic narcissists can also be used to disempower tyrants and tyrannical regimes. So, most of what I'm going to say today applies in two very distinct ways. The former you may or may not care about, the latter I hope you do. Ways, methods to use and things to know so that you don't give narcissistic people power over you, and more importantly, that we don't give narcissistic states power over the world. So I'm going to talk about the nature of the beast, this particular variety of person that doesn't really function the way most of us does. What makes them tick? What is it about them that is fundamentally different and that we need to look out for and that we can recognize and do something about? First of all, you will never meet the real them. Everything they do 24 hours a day in front of other people is an act. They are pretending. They are pretending with the sole goal of getting you to be a source of power and attention for them. Every political campaign is exactly that. What persona is this candidate going to make up? What is he going to pretend to be? We're going to look at the polls. We think if you get in the back of a pickup truck and you wear this, people will think you're one of them. That's how they think. The monsters basically think, what do I have to pretend to be to get them to give me power, to get them to give me control over them? It's the same with the individual as it is with the individual politician and with government as a whole. Government's the nastiest tyranny you can think of. Never did they come out and say, we want power because we want to control you and dominate you and probably hurt you and steal a bunch of stuff from you. They always, always, always say, we are here to serve you. We are here to help you. They are always putting up a front, putting on the act, that looks like it's for your benefit. All the rhetoric about we serve you, a servant government that represents the people. That was BS from day one. They gravitate towards those positions of power to get power for themselves. In their view, you are only ever a source of attention and glory and praise and money and power for them. In psychology, that's referred to as being a supply. The toxic narcissist tries to find somebody who will supply them with endless and unconditional adoration and subservience and all that nasty stuff. Often such people are into something called neuro-linguistic programming. This is basically the understanding of how little words and gestures can control somebody else. Now, understanding psychology can be used for two very different goals. For example, what we teach in Candles in the Dark is about understanding psychology enough to get through to the real person, to free them, to give them back ownership of themselves, to free them from the authoritarian lies they've been taught. But the same psychology can be used in the other direction to enslave people, to control people. It's what the toxic narcissist does. It's what every government does. It's what every ruling class does. Is we are going to give you a message that will make you voluntarily submit to our rule because you think we're there for you. I mean, the campaign speeches, I feel your pain, I'm one of you, and I'm going to go make the hard decisions and work for you, by way of telling you what to do and stealing your money. They don't say the last part, but we all know that's what government does. Government is violence. But they don't pitch it as that. They pitch it as, we're on your side. Now, in the case of individual narcissists, they do something called love bombing, which is, oh, you're so awesome, you're so great in so many ways, I just totally adore you, you're outstanding, to get their hooks in you. And then once you're committed, then the hooks dig deeper. And you start to see little glimpses of, wait a minute, they're not serving us, they don't care about us, they just wanted us captive. They just put bait in the trap to get us close enough to snare us. That is every election that ever happens, regardless of who wins it. I'm on your side. And there are still people in the trap with a thing on their spine, chewing on the cheese, the orange cheese of Donald Trump, and saying, he's for us. That's how duped people can be from this form of manipulation and deception. And it's not just about persuasion, because that's something we should all be good at. It's specifically about deception. I'm going to feed you an incorrect description of me, of reality, to trick you into putting yourself into a position where you're vulnerable to me so I can feed off of you. Because from their vantage point, everybody else exists to serve them. And you can totally see this, especially when tapes, the Nixon tapes come out and things come out that show what they talk about behind the scenes, and oddly, it doesn't match their campaign persona, does it? They talk down about the stupid rabble and, yeah, here's how I'm going to trick them into giving us lots of power, because that's their view. They don't view us as other people. They view us as livestock. And they believe they are entitled to our service, to our subservience. And individual narcissists believe the exact same thing. The rest of the world exists to serve them. Now, they can mimic and feign compassion and empathy, and they need to accomplish anything. I feel your pain. No, you frickin' don't. But you will pretend you do, because if you came out and say, I don't care about you at all, I want power over you, everybody would say, go away. But if they come out and say, I'm going to help the poor, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to take care of everybody, and I'm going to protect you, and I'm going to make sure everything's okay, and I'm not going to mention that the way I'm going to do that is by violence. I'm going to talk as if I'm here to help you to get the claws in. It's the same with the individuals, it's the same with the politicians, every time. Now, as long as you're a good little supply to the narcissist or to the ruling class, they seem pretty nice. People talk about, I've never had a problem with the police, because I do as I'm told, like a good little subject. So they're nice to me. I pick my cotton in the field, the master never whips me. That's because you serve him, you're good livestock. But when somebody decides not to be good livestock, again, whether it's the individual or the subject of a state, and they start to think, maybe you're not perfect, maybe my life shouldn't be about serving you, then you see the monster behind the mask, and they tend to let that slip when they get frustrated when you don't talk, as if they are gods with every right to rule you and control you. Suddenly, out comes the violence. And then you get treated like trashed and demonized and slandered. And in the case of government, you get violently attacked by their thugs with guns. Of course, they can be friendly and nice and charismatic to get into that position of control and influence because they couldn't get there any other way. So they know how to mimic decency enough to fool people. But when the manipulations don't work and they get frustrated and angry, then you start to see what they really are. Here is the nastiest part of government and narcissists. They primarily feed off of people's goodness. Their primary victims are people with excess patience and empathy and goodness and trusting and forgiveness. Because those people project their own goodness onto the narcissist or the ruling class. Well, they sound sincere. They sound like they want to help. I would want to help. So I'm going to assume they want to help. And that is what makes it so despicable that it works best on the best people. The people who are most caring, are most compassionate. And that is who individual toxic narcissists target, and it is who governments target. The political left comes out, if you care about the children and the poor and the elderly and the sick and the yada, 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 you will give me the power to help them. And millions and millions and millions of people vote themselves into subservience and slavery because their goodness was used against them. And it's the same on the political right. We're going to protect the innocent from all the nasty, scary threats out there, whether it's foreigners or crime or drugs or whatever. We're going to protect the innocent. They appeal to people's goodness to make them into slaves, and that is what makes it so profoundly evil. Everything they do is to make you subservient to them. They can love you the way somebody might love a car or furniture or a pet or livestock. You are there to serve them. You might entertain them. You're the pet dog. They might sort of approve of that. They might sort of be nice to you as long as you behave. The last thing they want is for you to have your own life and your own dreams and your own freedom. Do you ever wonder why the hell politicians spend day after day after day thinking of new ways to forcibly interfere in your life? Well, today Congress passed a new regulation that says you're not allowed to have a lemonade stand or something. Who the hell would think this stuff up? People who actually, really, and truly hate you for your freedoms. George Bush. There are those people. They run for office. And there are also toxic narcissists who do that on an individual basis. They really do resent the freedom of other people, because if you're free and you have hopes and dreams, that means you're not serving them. Hey, wait a minute, the whole world's about me. Get over here and praise me. Serve me. I'm entitled. So to whatever extent your desires and feelings and intentions don't serve them, they will sabotage you and tear you down. So the specific tactics they learn. Now this is, again, something that Amanda and I learned after the fact and during the fact by starting to read articles and watch videos about the specific diagnosis of toxic or malignant narcissism. And we were amazed at the specificity of the tactics they use. It isn't just they're sort of mean, very precise, down to precise wording sometimes. And every time we're noticing this is also exactly what government does every time. Projection. When George Bush says they hate us for our freedoms, guess who hates you for your freedoms? The guy who said that. Guess who doesn't care about your freedoms or you or doesn't know anything about you? It's somebody in a cave on the other side of the world. They might care about their freedoms and not be too thrilled about the U.S. military blowing them up, but they're not out to get your freedoms. But the narcissist saying that somebody else is, he's saying that because he is. And narcissists can be amazingly specific and precise in the projection. They will exactly describe themselves when telling you how bad of a person you are. They will accuse you of being exactly what they are. And every politician there are scary, nasty, dishonest people out there. I will protect you from them. You are them. You are not protecting anybody from them. You are pretending that what you are is out there and that you are the savior against that. One of the biggest tactics they use is called triangulation, or in the political realm, that is divide and conquer. They have to pit us against each other. If we're all getting along, if we're all open and vulnerable and human, as Amanda was talking about, what the hell would we need a politician for? They need us to be scared of something. They need us to be distrustful. And so they talk to different groups to make them distrustful. Let's see if we can make white people distrustful of black people. Let's see if we can make black people distrustful of white people. Rich, poor, male, female, this country, this religion, that religion. We will pit them against each other. Now, in the case of the individual toxic narcissist, they will gossip to everybody you know, one at a time, telling bad things about every other person you know, to divide everything, like dividing it up into a pie and turning them all against you, so that in the end you are isolated and afraid and looking to them for protection. Gee, what does government always freaking do? Try to make you scared of other races, other nationalities, people who aren't like you, people who speak different languages, so that you are scared and feel isolated, and you look out at the world and go, they're going to come take our freedoms. Please, government, help us. Please let us be dependent on you. And once you are scared and isolated and have nowhere to turn, then they have you. Then they have control over you. And that is the method they always use, to make people resentful and hateful towards each other, so that the narcissist or the ruler can benefit from that fear and that division. And while they're doing the fear and division trick, they keep doing it until the people are doing it themselves. And they sit back and chuckle as white and black scream at each other, rich and poor scream at each other. Or on the individual level, people are mad at each other based on the lies that the narcissist made up about both of them. And they sit back and chuckle, realizing I'm breaking all the ties, I'm weakening all of them, so that this one person, my supply, has nowhere to turn, has no power, is trapped. Yes, they really are that screwed up. That really is how they think. And like I said at the beginning, that puts normal people at a disadvantage, because most of us cannot fathom looking at the rest of society that way. I want to make everybody hate each other and make everybody think that they need to give me power and glory and attention to save the day. If we can't fathom that, we don't expect it in others. Again, we project our own goodness on others. That makes us vulnerable, because we think they would never do that. To anybody who ever says they would never do that about government, read the Operation Northwoods documents and then tell me that there's anything they would never do. Where the top brass, the entire top brass at the Pentagon, signed off on plans to commit terrorist actions on U.S. soil to scare the American people into going to war with Cuba. This is declassified. You can get it on the government's own website from their own archives. That is a perfect illustration of how these people actually think. And normal people, when they read that, are like, they're openly talking about creating a war based on false flag terrorism. Because that's what they are. That's what the monsters are. They're not what they do in front of a TV camera when they're trying to get your vote. And decent people need to understand that to stop falling for the lies. A big part of the triangulation game is that they are always starting conflicts. They thrive on conflict and drama. Again, it's true of the individual narcissist, toxic narcissist. It's true of every government. They have to have wars for them to step in and say, don't worry, I'll save the day. So they instigate it. Now, sometimes they directly instigate it, As in, we're going to send in cops who are pretending to be protesters and smash some windows, and then we'll send in the rest to beat them up and do a big thing, because otherwise you were just going to peacefully say, we don't like this, and, wouldn't look good if we went and beat you up for that. So we're going to intentionally create violence and instigate it so that there is a conflict that we can step in and use as an excuse for power for us. Again, without strife, who would ever put a politician into power? If everything's going fine and we're getting along, who would bother to, if somebody comes along and says, let me rule you, who would say yes? They only do it after fear. And the narcissist does the same game. Make you scared of the rest of the world. Make you doubt your friends, doubt your parents, doubt everybody you know. Make them think you're against them, they're against you. They're all untrustworthy, except me, your savior and protector. I'm on your side. Never mind, I'm the one who made all those frickin' divisions in the first place to get you in my trap, which is what politics always is. Another fun tactic is gaslighting, basically trying to make you think you're crazy in various methods. I won't bother getting into the details, but it's basically bald-faced lies about what is reality, also known as every political campaign ever. Make you doubt reality, make you doubt your own eyes, make you distrust yourself. Isn't Mexico a terrifying place? Because the government sure thinks so. I think we need a humongous wall to protect us from this? Really? I'm so terrified. I can't wait to get back behind that wall so I'm safe from all this horrible, cool weather and nice people. They fabricate a reality to make you weak, confused, and helpless so that they empower themselves and make you subservient. It is to get power over your mind. It is what the narcissist does. It is what the politician does. Word salad is another fun one. If you disagree with them, if you have an actual substantive, wait a minute, what about this? Their ego feels the hurt. They don't respond with rational counter-argument or reasoning. Instead, they'll throw out gibberish to try to knock you off balance and make arguments over nothing and make stuff up and change the subject until the entire discussion is an unrecognizable mess. And then they demonize you and insult you and go off on bizarre tangents and misrepresent what you did and what you said. Again, also known as every political debate ever. You ask a politician a simple question and half an hour later you don't even remember what you asked them because there's 87 tangents, and all of them end in "you're evil for having asked me a question I didn't want you to ask." They do everything and anything to throw the blame and shame at you to divert attention from their own flaws and errors. Again, it's what the narcissist does, it's what the ruling class does every time. They are condescending and belittling. Again, the individual does that. It's pretty dang obvious when the politicians do it. You will refer to me as the honorable congressman. No, I won't. You're a friggin' crook. They expect to be treated like royalty. And at least the politicians do it so obviously that some people kind of get creeped out by it. Because the idea that, we laugh at, divine right of kings, and, England, they still, worship their royalty. It's so silly. Oh, the president. Oh, my God. He's just a crook. He's a liar. And I don't just mean this one. I mean everyone. The people who get there are always crooks and liars. And they're constantly trying to remind you, I'm the important authority. You're the lowly subject. And I will grace you with my presence, and you can come bow before me. Yeah, no narcissism there, huh? They already believe that they are the center of the universe, and they will do everything to get you to believe the same thing. We need government. You need people like us in charge because you can't be trusted. You're the stupid animals. We are the wise rulers. And they aren't usually that blatant about the message, but that is implied in almost everything they do and why they always bash the idea of freedom. They want you to always be ashamed of yourself and feel unworthy and inferior. Again, like we're all violent animals. Now, if you don't share the view that they are superior, all-knowing, and all-important, they go ballistic, physically and or verbally. You can see this in narcissists, you can see it in politicians. If your focus is anything other than a nonstop attempt to please and serve them and give them attention and praise, then to them, you are the enemy and must be destroyed. You don't care about the poor. You don't care about crime because you won't give me power. That is always their message, because they really think they have the right to rule the world and that they should. That is how delusional they are. And whenever their purely self-centered, self-serving agenda is compromised, they insult and condemn and threaten, whether openly or subtly, whoever they view as a threat to their own ego and their image and their agenda and their power. And so you get ridiculous things like the U.S. government, I forget which, it may have been FBI, putting out pamphlets like they might be a terrorist if they mention the Constitution. Like, how weird can you possibly get? That's a sign of heart. What they mean is, if they show any sign that they don't completely and unquestioningly obey everything, every stupid whim we barf out there in the form of law, then they are evil and to be destroyed. That is the narcissist view of the rest of the world. If they are not serving me, they are to be destroyed. And while they are always the manipulative controller, they also always play the victim. They always whine about, oh, poor them, they were wronged. Meanwhile, they're trying to control and lie to and manipulate everybody else. Again, they're projecting in both directions. Now, they're also good at feigning remorse and promising to change. It also reminds me of various TV evangelists, too. I'm so sorry I got caught. I'm so sorry I did that thing. You have to understand, again, these are specific traits. It's not just that anybody who's a butthead is a toxic narcissist. I don't want anybody to jump to that conclusion. It's a very specific pattern of behaviors. But when you all the way see enough of the signs and realize, yeah, this person is all the way that, not just, we all have little tendencies of short-sightedness, or, we lose our temper, we lose patience or something at some time or another. But I'm talking about this specific diagnosis. These people never mean it when they pretend to be remorseful, when they pretend to care. Everything they do is an act. The politicians think they have the right to rule you, and everything they do is an act. They have no desire to change. Why would they? You're the livestock. What farmer thinks he needs to change to make his livestock happier? And the good people give them a second chance and give them empathy and compassion, and it always backfires. It's the abuser-abused pattern that happens over and over again. I'm so sorry I got drunk and beat the hell out of you. I'm so sorry. I love you so much. Please take me back. And then it's a little bit worse next time, and then it's a little bit worse the next time, over and over again. And again, what's so frickin' despicable about that is that they target the patient, nice, caring people, because that's the people who put up with this crap. And while we absolutely should be patient and kind and caring and loving, we also need to understand the monsters and understand how to identify them and understand how to disempower them. So, how do you identify one? Well, all the traits I just talked about, obviously. Ignore their words, ignore their stated intentions, and look at what they actually do. For example, the abusive spouse who physically beats his wife, if they say, I'm so sorry, I'll never do it again, and then they do it again, the first time, okay, you're gullible enough to believe it. The second time, why would you believe him again? The third time, the 5 zillionth time, we're going to cut your taxes, I promise. The 847th time, you still believe that crap? They abuse you, they mistreat you over and over and over again, and you keep giving them another chance because you're projecting your own goodness onto them. You have to look at what they do, and from that, extrapolate how they view you. Do their actions indicate that they want to free you? They want you to be free and have your own life, your own self-determining existence, or do they want to own you and control you and possess you? Doesn't take very long if you dare to open your eyes to recognize the difference. Do they see you as your own entity? Do they want you empowered and fulfilled? or are you just a thing to serve them? Do they want you actually happy and open? Do they care what your desires and dreams are, or do they want you isolated and afraid and distrustful? Do they promote unity and cooperation between you and everybody else whenever possible, or are they constantly creating division and fear and distrust? With government, I hope we all know the answer to that. Government is always about fear and division. So what do we do if we identify either, again, the individual toxic narcissist or a government that does that? And by the way, every government does that, so run the test on any government you want and you'll see, oh yeah, that's totally them. You need to know that everything they do is about controlling and owning you. Everything they say, everything they pretend to want, every act of remorse, every act of fake compassion, it's all about controlling you. It's never genuine. And the thing is, if they're all the way showing remorse, I'm so sorry, blah, 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 it's so difficult for a normal person to think they're totally faking. But I can say firsthand, yes, sometimes we know, we have proof, they are absolutely faking. And at the same time, they're trying to stab you in the back. Same thing with government. Oh, we had to raise taxes. You know, we tried to cut the budget. It was just so difficult. So we're raising, we feel so bad about it. We really wanted to give that tax cut, but we just couldn't do it. Bullshit. You wanted to rob us more, and you did. For you to be independent and happy and free is an affront to them. It really is. And that's something that's difficult for most of us to understand. Like, why would you actually resent some other person, even some other person you don't know, from being free and happy? This is why authority really is the essence of evil. And I don't say that lightly, and I don't particularly say it in a religious sense. Freedom is what makes us human. The free will, conscience, having our own sense of right and wrong and living according to that, our own dreams and our own goals and living to meet them. So the opposite of that is somebody saying, I'm going to take that and I'm going to shut down your free will. I'm going to shut down your hopes and dreams. Whatever you would have done, whatever you wanted, whatever you cared about, that doesn't matter. I'm going to make you into my servant, into my slave. It's what narcissists do. It's what governments do. Because they really and truly hate us for our freedoms. They really can't stand the idea of people being free. Again, how else would you explain them spending day after day after day finding new, stupid, nitpicky ways to stick their little tentacles of regulation into everything? Who would bother to do that? People who really and truly resent your freedom, which is narcissists. And a huge drawback of decent people is that we imagine virtue and empathy where there is none. How many people have you heard, if only the politicians heard our pleas, we need to go protest in front of the Capitol building and really tell them what they think, then they would do what we want. You think the farmer cares if the sheep go up and go, bah? That is how they view you. They don't care. You're projecting your goodness onto them, and they don't care. He's not there to serve you. He's there to trick you into being his livestock. That is how they view the rest of the world. Unfortunately, how most people respond both to narcissists on an individual level and to government does not go well. I already talked about the pattern, and I refer to it as battered citizen syndrome. Because it's true. It's sort of funny, and it's also really sad because it's really true. People get abused over and over and over again. And if you say, how about don't give them power? What's their response? Oh, we can't live without them. It would be chaos, and I'm sure they care. We'll try again. They say they care about us. They'll be better next time. We'll just keep begging them to please be better. Because I know deep down inside they care about us. No, they freaking don't. And how many times are you going to allow yourself to be abused until you figure that out, until you figure out what they are, until you see the monster behind the mask they wear, until you know the nature of the beast. When you try to explain to them and appeal to them, here's why what you're doing is wrong, they don't give a crap. They don't care about hurting you. And there are so many examples of this. They don't push gun control because they're so stupid they think that would reduce crime. They know it will make matters worse. They know it will make more violence. They do it because they don't want their sheep having guns. They do not promote the war on drugs because they actually think it has the slightest prayer in hell of reducing drug use. They know better. They know that is not the reality. They do it knowing it will cause shootouts, knowing it will cause violence. The entire frickin' cartel problem in Mexico is the fault of the United States government and its stupid war on drugs, and they know it. That jackass Sessions and every other fascist that pushes that knows they are costing human lives, knows they are creating crime, and they're doing it on purpose because that gives them an excuse for more authoritarian power and more spying and more searching and more interrogation. That is why they do it. And to those of us who are imagining that they're at least half decent or have good intentions, it doesn't make any sense. Look at these facts and figures, Mr. Politician. Look, this is making more harm than good. They already know. That's why they're doing it. When you identify somebody who is a narcissist or a government who is a narcissist, don't give them another chance. Again, I'm not talking about anybody who said something stupid or got angry. I'm talking about this specific category of people, or every ruling class. Don't give them another chance because their entire agenda is making you subservient, empowering themselves at your expense. Don't give them another chance to do that, ever. Projection goes in both directions. Do not project your goodness onto them. Don't let them mistreat you because you keep expecting them to be decent human beings when they show every indication that they aren't. The victims need to stop empowering the abusers. Every government in the world gets its power from the decent people who have actually been duped into believing that giving them that power is necessary or good for society. You have to understand the monsters and how they function. As an analogy, the cop pulls you over, and so many people think, if I just explained to him why I was in a hurry and I had to rush and blah, 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 blah. He's not there to be nice to you, because there's a really easy way to be nice to you. Don't pull you over. Don't threaten you with violence by turning on the lights. He is looking for something to use against you. He is looking for something to use to control you. Don't talk to him as if he's your buddy. He just threatened to frickin' kill you. That's what the red and blue lights mean. You will stop now, or I will call my other gang members, and we will stop you by any means necessary, including frickin' killing you. They don't do that to help you. Here's a very, very important point. The way to break the triangulation and the divide and conquer, the way to make that not work, is talk to people. It works on an individual level with the narcissist who's spreading lies everywhere. Go and talk to the person that you thought was so horrible because of what he said about them. You might find, oh, wow, he said nasty things about me to you, too. Wow, so we don't have to be at odds. Huh. Maybe now we actually know who the problem is and who the enemy is. Technology and the internet and all sorts of things have done a wonderful job of that. Once upon a time, so many Americans, probably including myself, back when I was a statist 20-some years ago, were scared to death of the Russians. Now I can get on Skype and chat with somebody in Russia. Oh, you mean you don't want to, kill me and stuff? No, I'm just a person. Oh, okay. Well, I'm not scared of you anymore. I'm not scared of Chinese people anymore. I'm not scared of this person or that person, because I can talk to them. I'm not scared of Mexicans. I'm scared of Americans more than I'm scared of Mexicans. But if you talk and you go to the people you're supposed to be scared of, now there are some scary people in the world. I mean, that's kind of the point of this talk. So I'm not saying assume everybody's a perfect angel. Everybody isn't a perfect angel. But don't take somebody's word for it when they tell you, you need to give me power because the rest of the world is scary. Go out and find out if the rest of the world is scary. Go out and find out if you should be scared of those people and doubting those people, if they're there to destroy you. You'll probably find out that a different narcissist told them that you want to destroy them. And then you'll talk and go, wow, your government said that about Americans? Want to know what my government said about you guys? Maybe we have a common enemy. It's the psychos who want power. I will end with this. Whether you say it out loud or just think it, this has to be your attitude. When you figure out, when you do the study, you are open to the fact that, yes, there are monsters in this world, and you figure out that a person or a state or a politician or whatever falls into this category. This is what you either say silently to yourself or say out loud if you feel like it. As soon as you recognize that their goal is to make you subservient, which is true of every government. I am not your possession. I am not beholden to you, even if you call your BS laws. I do not need your permission to be free. I do not need your approval for anything. I don't need you to tell me what to think. I don't need you controlling me. No, I don't feel bad about not being your slave. I don't owe you respect or attention, and I sure as hell don't owe you obedience. You think you are everything. In reality, you are simply a parasite. You are not entitled to my time and energy, Mr. and Mrs. Politician, Mr. and Mrs. Narcissist. No, you are not the victim, you are the victimizer. Your divide and conquer crap won't work on me. I'm not scared of you, I'm not fooled by you. I know what you are, you have no power over me. Thank you.
Rose. Great job, buddy.
Thank you.
Great job. Larkin, if you can hear me back there in the green room, Larkin, we've got 3 minutes left and we can use some Q&A if you'd like. And by the way, we just discovered one of these red government says we own you documents, but it might be important to someone check and see if you have. It's a red called a passport. And so if you have lost that, please let us know. You might want this. We can read the name, if I can understand this. Miller, Jess Miller. Jess Miller. All right, and questions? Larkin, I think we might have a few. Yeah.
Somebody has a question, they'll say.
Do we have a question? Yes.
Yes. Hello?
Make sure, is the mic working? Yeah, go ahead and try it again.
Can you hear me?
Hello?
I heard you, I really enjoyed what I heard. I heard you say Trump and Bush. I was wondering why I didn't hear the other two presidents of the United States that we've had in the last 30 years.
I said everyone that's ever been in office. Didn't that kind of sum it up? I specifically said everyone who's ever been there, not just the current.
You mentioned Obama or the Clintons? Okay. My apologies.
No problem.
Mirror project update request.
What was that?
Mirror project update request.
Oh, yeah. The mirror, I haven't been working on as much recently because I've been getting ready for this thing, doing a talk and a seminar and a musical thing and building a house. But that is going forward, and the script of it, the giant flowchart, 5-dimensional nightmare of a thing, that's now a finite project. It's not finished, but now I have the bounds of it and the individual nodes, if you want to call it that. For a long time, that felt infinite. Like I said before, it felt like the finish line was running away from me because it kept expanding. There's still a lot of animation and stuff to do, but right after this, I should have a bunch more time to be working on it.
Hi, man. Thank you. I'm a narcissist. And I believe also, because of the importance of this question, is that we shouldn't trust enough on our self-arrogancy to believe that we are no narcissist, and we need to conquer ourselves together. So my question is, for those that we are conquering ourselves together, and to be able to understand you and, for example, Lara and everyone here as cells of this movement and make it more alive and make it thrive, how can we remind ourselves within our differences that we are making it be better and be alive within our differences?
Sorry, the main speakers are facing that way. It's a little bit hard to hear. All I hear is the echo off the back wall.
Very difficult to hear right now.
Okay, hold on. Everybody, please be quiet or go outside. This is the most important part of what we're doing here, right? The questions, interacting with what's on stage. It's amazing. So please, quiet or outside, just for this part. Thank you. So ask a question.
Okay, sorry, try again.
Yeah, thank you. I'm a narcissist, and I believe that we should be careful of people that are thinking that they are not narcissist. We are in different degrees, and the most important question of this is for making this alive. Your mind and Laura's mind and everyone here are cells of this movement, and we wanted to thrive. So how can we remind ourselves when we get all emotional, defending our posture, defending our mindset, that diversity is the most important thing, and we need to get self-organized as a collective intelligence?
Right, okay. Yeah, we all have, like, to one degree or another, aspects of these things, you know, self-importance and everything else, like sort of degrees of narcissism. I should have clarified that this is a very specific subcategory of narcissism. But yes, it's very important that we not be all the way in preachy mode, that we're not taking anything in, we're not listening. We think we have it all the way figured out. Nobody has it all the way figured out. And listening to everybody is sort of a learned skill that unfortunately some people in this movement aren't that good at, but everybody could work on. But a lot of people are, and a lot of people are in digesting truth mode 24/7, and I think it behooves every one of us to make a concerted effort to be that kind of person that's constantly open to new ideas and even open to being wrong about stuff.
Ladies and gentlemen, Larkin Rose. Thank you. Thank you very much.
There was an idea
to bring together a group of remarkable people,
to see if we could become something more.
so when they needed us, we could fight the battles
that they never could.
In time, the state will know what it's like to lose. To feel so desperately that it's right, yet to fail all the same. Dread it. Run from it. Freedom still arrives.
Vacate the state. Engage all the speakers and get this man a microphone.
Fun isn't something that one considers when eradicating tyranny. But this does put a smile on my face.